Every artist whose music I enjoy, sometimes it's fathomable that we could work together. But honestly, at this part of my life and career, I don't think of that. My number one responsibility is to make the dopest shit ever. And however that happens, whether it's me alone or me with somebody else, I'll just honor that. I'm past that stage where I really think, yo, I need to work with this person. The name Manifest came to me by a complete accident. I was writing a rhyme and kind of said Manifest, and I was like, yeah, that could be my name. That kind of epitomizes what I do, just bringing something into existence. So, and then I was like, I can't just write Manifest, you know, I have to be a true hip hopper and just bastardize it and put a dot there. You know, it's really good for the search engine, you know? I was definitely an adventurous kid. I was quietly mischievous, and then I was really good at school. I did well academically, which helped me to get away with murder. Because nobody's looking out for the kid that's doing well in school to be like doing mischievous things. I was like the one that would always be voted to be class prefect, but then I would be the one who would sometimes sit at the back of the class with a couple of my friends and sneak out. The crazy thing is I actually also did very well in sports, you know. I used to run, I used to play basketball, I used to play football as well. Well, soccer to you guys. My very early inspirations, I would say Pac was one of them. He really had everybody in a chokehold in terms of how he was able to communicate. Nas was one of them because lyrically he was just incredible. I remember, I think it was written, I almost knew every lyric on there. It's inspired by Fela Kuti, clearly, because growing up, even though we knew other music like High Life, which is Ebo Taylor, etc., Fela managed to make it in such a global way. Somebody coming up, I was like, yo, this is familiar music, but this guy took it to the world. If I did a song with Tupac, it would be called LA to Accra. Accra to LA. It would be a different kind of coast to coast. Across the Atlantic coast. The music, I'll have it will be co-produced by, let's say, a West Coast producer and a producer from either Ghana or Nigeria. That was a crazy one, working with Erykah Badu, because it wasn't just her. On top of it all, I was in the studio with Damon Albarn from Gorillaz, Flea, Tony Allen, and Erykah Badu comes in. So it's like already it was a power-packed studio of like these incredible legendary musicians, and Miss Badu came through, and we had been recording the whole day. I think she came a little later at night. So it was just dope because I was a huge fan. So just watching her like listen to my verse, play back and kind of mumbling my verse and then do a hook afterwards was just surreal, so it was dope. But it was also more incredible because of the other people in the room as well, which is like an all-star studio session. I think it was December or November 2005. That's the time I recorded my first solo song. It was the first time I recorded was with somebody else. First solo song, and what happened was, those were the days Dilla beats were floating on the internet. So I downloaded bootleg Dilla beats. I love J Dilla. And then that was the era of MySpace, and my homie was like, yo, you need to join MySpace, you know, put music on. So I had these Dilla beats, and I did a song on a Dilla beat. And it sounded fire. I think it was called Silence is Golden. Silence is golden, speech is really priceless. My heart and soul, living in my devices, approaching the light. Some call it a crisis, a rebel I verbalized. Tyson couldn't fight this. And I was like, this is kind of fire. Maybe it was because it was a Dilla beat. I don't know, but I thought it was fire. Well, the title came whilst I was in the middle of the process, but the idea for the album was before I began the process, which was the idea that I really felt like I'd reached a point of maturation and I wanted to take a new path, so a new road. And then the guava trees was the idea of making a climb, a fruitful climb. So then I got fortunate enough that I was triggered also by personal memory, which is the fact that I grew up in a place called New Road, Medina New Road, and there was a guava tree in my house growing up that I was very fond of, that I used to climb and fall off. It just really fit into the idea of where I was going with the album originally, which is that professionally and personally, I felt like charting a new path.